Good morning, good afternoon, good night, depending on what time you're listening, folks. Really happy to have you here today with me. Again, I'm Brian Doyle, and welcome to the latest installment of MSP Business School. Today's guest, who those of you watching on YouTube can see on the screen with me, is Zulfiya Forsythe from the Omadi group. She's going to tell us a little bit about what she's up to out in the space today. We had an opportunity to meet earlier this year, and there's been a lot of change since the first time we got together. So I'm excited to hear what's going on as well. Welcome, Sophia.
Thank you so much for having me here, Brian.
You bet. So, one of the things that we always like to do is kind of let the listeners that don't know you learn a little bit more about you right up front. So, if you wouldn't mind talking a little bit about your background and how you ended up in the wild world of MSP, that'd be awesome.
Sure, absolutely. I actually got connected to MSP very randomly. We had a client, mutual client, that we did a great job for. It was a property management company that hired us to do data analytics. They're using Yardi, so something to digestible dashboards for them using their data. And then we had MSP in there, SafePoint. Their name is SafePoint. They like, oh, the client is liking the work that you do. Can you help other clients of ours? And this is where I started kind of learning, oh, MSPs, and they service many other of their clients, and we started working with their clients and kind of started forming that relationship of me supporting them where they don't offer services, for example, in data analytics or some automation in AI, and I come in as their trusted partner. Basically, at the end of the day, everybody wins because their clients get efficiency boost, they get immediate gains, they get clarity on their reporting, clarity on their numbers, and then their processes get automated. MSP looks like shiny knight because they are the ones they trusted partner, and it's a win-win. And it was just very by surprise that just worked out. I never thought, and actually it was MSP, that MSP, SafePoint MSP. I just want to point down, they're excellent. They're based in Chicago. They were like, Zulfiya, you know what? You need to go talk to more MSPs because you're helping us to make our clients happy, bringing us more additional revenue without us hiring an additional overhead. Basically, we're doing additional MRR. So it's great. So then this is where I start kind of like looking into MSPs and start talking kind of my journey getting involved with MSPs.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think most of us kind of find our way into the MSP world because of an opportunity and something else that's out there that drives us here. But I think you've come to discover in the MSP space, it's really a giving community, and everybody really looks to kind of help each other. So it's a fun world to work in.
Yes, yes. Ever since we've done even like lunch and learns for the clients, to educate them. And world of AI is pretty overwhelming, I would say. And I know some people may be already kind of tired of this AI buzz because it's just like, oh my God, it's another tool that's out there or another solution that's out there. Like just it's gets too noisy and it gets overwhelming, and then what do I really use and to stay competitive, or how do I use it even properly? Do I need to spend more budgets on it or not? And so we even done like some lunch and learn, just kind of educate that, hey, what you have right now is great, this is what it can offer, but if you want a top notch, this is what you could do as well. That way there's a overwhelm and this noise is kind of cut down onto, okay, well, like, let's figure out what's basics are and what's ROI on these things, because I've been on the AI side, and for me it's very overwhelming as well.
It, uh, the AI topic is so vast, so wide, and changing so quickly, right? The
Yes.
capabilities are amazing. I've been seeing like Sora came out, and look at how videos evolved, and certainly the imagery's evolved. But more important, I think the biggest challenge with AI and that you're referring to is cutting through the noise to see how it's going to help my business. And I think
Yes.
that's really where people are struggling. Like, I get it. Here's generative AI and I can do this. Hey, there's these agents. Wasn't it just similar to the bots we used to have in chat before? Well, no, but here's how it's different. This is what I hear often from the customer community. They're struggling, going, hey, AI sounds great. I'm sure it could do a lot, but where do I put it in my own business? And I was looking at your Omadi group site, and to try to get an understanding for my own self in preparation of today, what you're doing. And I see that you're building a number of agents. Maybe you can talk to a little bit to the types of problems that led you there.
Absolutely. And to be honest, those agents, like I didn't, again, I didn't think, oh, I'm going to one day build the agent. For me, it all came from what problems, me talking to the business owner. So I focus on construction and property management, which is their sister arm, because a lot of construction companies are also property manage their properties as well that they build.
Yep.
So this is where it came, talking to the business owner, seeing, doing the AI audit, AI assessment, and seeing, okay, what processes do you have? And actually, I'm very, one thing I'm so glad that AI thing came in, because there's a, as we start talking to the business owners, there are a lot of processes don't even need AI, but people woke up with it because they're like, oh, like, how this be useful to me? And then when we look at the process, you don't even need AI in here. This is just automation that this was available to you 20 years ago. 10 years ago, you could have already seen the ROI on it. Or this is like a dashboard, you need to get out of the Excel spreadsheets. You already have a data from, let's say, you use Sage, or you use BuildOps, or you use Yardi. Like, we can just get your digestible dashboard so you know what's happening in your business. So you don't have to sit here and pick up the formulas that are outdated. So what I've seen is that customer service is number one tier when it comes to AI. So Vicky came out just a pure of that, because I start talking to service business. I have a lot of calls that they
And
miss.
Vicky is one of your agents. That's the voice AI agent, right?
Voice agent. So it picks up the calls and then books those calls in the system that they use. So in construction, there's a House Call Pro, for example, that they use. And then also Monday.com, they might use that system, or they might use Go High Level. And a lot of, let's say, native systems, they offer their own job, or they offer their own AI system. But here's the thing, it's like a white glove service, because every company has different workflows, and they might not just talk to one system. They might have a process of, oh, I would like to get notification on my email. Oh, like, I would like to know who's calling, why they're calling, because if the calls are getting missed, they get a voicemail on their that comes to their email. Nobody listens to that voicemail.
Yep.
The call is gone. The contract is gone to someone else, basically. And this is how I came to Vicky, because I saw that we have multiple companies, service companies, that need that, because they have the same issues. They either the first time callers call, or the customers call and they miss the calls. They miss about 50% of calls due to line being busy while it's answering another call, or, for example, voicemails in there, or just missing the calls. So, people are doing other tasks. So this is where Vicky came in to kind of fill in the gap and tying their system, again, being like system integrator, of just making sure that information doesn't go fall through the cracks, the leads that coming into them that they're paying money for. Let's say they're running ads, and now people are calling them, but they're not picking up the calls.
Yeah, and the real, reality, I had a number of my friends that work in the service industries as well. And, if you don't get that call, they just move to the next number sometimes. So that means that that lead won't even be recaptured, depending on the level of need. So it's interesting. I also want to highlight something you said a little bit earlier in the conversation about good old fashioned automation versus AI. I think that is something that has been very difficult for some to understand too. There's this concept that AI is doing all this magic, but a lot of
Yep.
times what AI has done is really just force people to look at what they're doing and go, "Oh, I can automate that." No, by the way, then AI maybe can enhance that,
Yep.
and it's driving a lot more fluidity around the marketplace. So I appreciate you kind of pointing that out as well, because I think a lot of people, customer side are like, well, does AI automate, or does automation, like, where does this all fit?
And then another thing that is also pointing out, I'm kind of happy this whole AI thing came in, because it's making them look at their system and processes. Because once they're interested in how AI could help me, we start looking at the process and realizing you don't have systems, or you don't have processes that are standardized, that are systematized and repeatable. And here's a very important part: AI cannot work autonomously on, like, even, think about autonomous driving. That's AI, right? Artificial intelligence. But it can't just start the car and drive its own. It needs traffic lights, it needs maps, it needs pedestrian lighting, it needs censorship, it needs all of that programming and systems for it to go around it. And that's why you can't have autonomous driving yet in Boston or New York, because it's crazy. You have
Jaywalkers and everybody else coming into play. Yep.
yeah, but it's great somewhere where it's on a, let's say, California, somewhere maybe in college, some district, or they mapped out in San Francisco. So again, right, there's systems that they put in for AI. It's like a train, it's rails, and then now let's set that train on those rails at this point right now. So in automation, something could be simple. I see as well. It's like, all right, what's the difference between AI and automation, right? So Voice is where now AI can differentiate or can recognize plain English, like you're talking to it and now it's responding back to you. So having that natural language processing behind it, and basically with simple automation, let's say I see another one. It's super simple example. Let's say foreman, right? Foreman's there's a template that they have to type in their hours on, construction workers, and now that template, that Excel sheets passed on to supervisors, and then that supervisor should be entering them in some system. So that's right there. Automation could be done where one template, once it's filled out, automatically fits it in the system. So that is just pure automation, and there's a lot of use case and a lot of need for it, because I think with AI being people now looking at their processes, and I hope they're looking at their processes and saying, all right, where do we have repeatable process? Where do we just burning out time that we can spend elsewhere?
Yeah. And that's a key word right there. Where's the repeatable process for burning up time? Because that's where I've definitely seen the bulk of the AI usage coming into is these tasks. Everybody's worried about AI taking over the world and taking away everybody's jobs. But I've always been a believer it's not going to take away the jobs, like many other things that were supposed to take away jobs in the past. It's going to refine how people approach their jobs, and certainly we can use it to get us there. What are your thoughts, kind of, as it relates to that?
Oh, a lot of thoughts, right? Because I'm in like two school of thoughts. Um, I was listening to a lot of, consuming a lot of articles as well, reading where people say AI will not take your jobs, AI will basically enhance your jobs, but then you also have some AI. So there's uh, the one podcast that was very interesting is CEO of Diaries, and he interviews like tech entrepreneurs, also some maybe security entrepreneurs that are against AI or pro AI. And very interesting. There's some school of thoughts that's saying, all right, AI is going to take over all of jobs, and everything that's a knowledge base, everything that computer, it's much more could be augmented easily than rather than you do something with your hands. Whether and then robotics gonna come later, because once first they will automate everyone that's working on computer. 5 years later, robotics will come in for everything that's moving and basic everything that can move, like Jensen Huang was talking about. Everything that moves eventually can be augmented by robotics, basically. But here's the thing: nobody knows what happens. What I see is, because some people say there would be no jobs, we're all going to be on basically what is it called, UBI, um, or some will say, oh, only plumbing jobs, plumbers and basically electricians are the only ones that will have a jobs. Because again, robotics is so hard to this is one of the things. It's like every home is different, every buildings are different, and to train robots around different, just like with driving, right, autonomous driving, you need to make sure that you for every edge case you account for that. So I don't have a say for you, to be honest. All I have to say right now is like, all right, what can I do right now as a business owner to stay competitive? What can I do? What can I simplify, systematize, and use that AI to help me scale my business so I can stay competitive and also provide very great value in my products and services? Because as business owners, what I see right now, a lot of business owners are stretched thin because they have to think of strategies, right? They have to think of marketing, sales. They have to also make sure that the quality of their products or services are also up to the par. So how can we achieve all those goals and equip educate and train our employees so they can be successful in this new evolving era that we are in?
So let's transition a little bit from there and get into some of the other problems you've been solving for business, because I know Vicky is not your only agent. So let's talk about some of the other issues that you encountered that have driven opportunity via AI.
Yeah, so my another one is Farm and Agent. Farm and Agent is actually right now bought by City of Bonneville in Idaho. And we're also right now demoing for a lot of construction companies as well, because it's a knowledge-based agent. It's a Google of your internal historical knowledge database, whether it's internal documents that you might have or internal system that you have, that right now it's kind of clunky. Like, for example, for Bonneville, all of that information is on their website. However, it takes such a long time to find for right now if they're using internally. Let's say they have minutes, they have exhibits, they have ordinances, and they have historical information of those files. We're talking about over, thousands of files, thousands of one file could be 200, 400 pages long, and it could be for accumulations of years. So somebody comes in to the clerk and be like, hey, I want to build, let's say I want to build a new infrastructure, a new building. Is this zone? What should be the guidelines, right? They would need to know what's the latest code for that. Where is it mentioned? And they would probably do traditional Control F or something going through the PDF right now. But what we've done, they've digitalized their records. Now we have AI sitting on top of it. We can just recognize human language when somebody is asking them, hey, what's the new infrastructure built in City of Bonneville? They just ask a question, boom. 7 seconds, they get the information. This is what the guidelines are. Page number 1 on commissioner minutes. You can download it, or you can also pop it as well. So all of a sudden now they got the information on their fingertips. And we are demoing that also for construction. Same thing. They have submittals, or they have project management information, all these large projects that sometimes like, hey, what happened to that project? What did we build them last time? Who's responsible? Is there a new addition? Like I'm talking about large ones, they're building the universities, hospitals, they're building clinics. There's just a lot of information, and sometimes it takes a while to get that information. So if you have the AI that recognizing plain English, when you just ask, hey, what was the latest improvement that was approved on this project in this university that we built, for example, boom, right there. This is how much, this is by whom was approved, this is how much it cost. Or if they're asking, hey, what do we order, what kind of equipment do we order, for this type of university, in what capacity, in what volume. All of a sudden now that AI is going and doing that querying for them and retrieving the information back. And you would ask me, Brian, what's the difference between different like a regular database? You have to log in, you have to filter, you have to find, you have to make sure you kind of search a little bit, dig through it, But here it's just consolidating, processing the information, recognize the human language, and kind of retrieving back to you. So this is one of our agents that we are also right now seeing a lot of value coming in. And these, like for City of Bonneville, they're like, oh my gosh, it saved us weeks finding information. We're already using it.
And that's really it. Sometimes it's just getting that information at your fingertips. I'm amazed at some of the things that AI spits out if you put in the proper prompt and then you refine along the way. Obviously, you got to do a little fact checking with some of it as well. But it's been amazing how it can really speed things up in so many areas of our business.
Yeah, it's just, the way I look at the AI is like, all right, how can I look at my process? How can I improve it? Like, remember the times my mom has still this book, encyclopedia. Do you remember those like large encyclopedias?
Oh, of course.
Like you have to like look up words, so what that word means, right? So now it's all gone. It's basically it's digital encyclopedia at your fingerprints.
Yeah.
Now you no longer can say, oh, let me take that time. I don't know what that information is on. I don't know how much. It's like right there for you. The information is right there from you to make much more informed decision and kind of move your business forward.
Yeah, I always try to explain to my kids, we didn't have this information at our fingertips. We actually used to have arguments about facts until somebody could prove it out when I was younger. But now I'm sounding like that old guy, crotchety. But but it's just amazing to see how quickly we can get to this information and distill it and actually make meaningful judgments from it.
So one thing I want to point out, we just talked about different generation, right? I'm also looking at different generation that are 20s, for example, 20 years younger than me. And I realized that the way they process the information and the way they interact with information is different. Like if we were taught, you got to go read a book, basically, physical book, you got to go read it and then maybe provide citation based on it. These guys, they used to texting. They used to getting instant feedback with that information. And then the more ChatGPT is going to be here, the more that is just becoming the form for all of us to have the interaction and to get quick feedback on our conversation. And this is where I am seeing is that when we train people, even so, it's a historical on their internal database knowledge base. It's you can put in their training information for your young workforce to come in and equip them something that it can quickly ask question on and get immediate, oh, how's this done? This is the best procedure to get this done. Oh, okay. So instead of them kind of going and making them read 50-page manual that nobody's going to read and retain the information on, you've equipped them with tools that right there for them on demand to look up and kind of move forward.
Yeah, I say it all the time. The buyers today are different than the buyers that I entered my career into. They are digital natives. You have always had technology as part of their lives, and they're looking for process improvement. How do we get things faster? How do we become more efficient? And certainly the tools that are coming out there, and AI being one of them, has certainly improved that for them today. So we're getting near the end of our time today, Zulfiya. I'd love to know if there's any closing thoughts you want to share before we wrap up.
Any closing thoughts? Um, I would say one of the things is like if you're looking to implement AI or some automation, I'd say just being open to it, and then always it's number one thing. Sometimes when we don't know how can I use AI in my business, you can just use ChatGPT and ask for it.
Yep.
Literally, just ask. Hey, have a simple conversation with it and be like, "I'm such a business. Don't give them the confidential information about your business, but you can." Um, and then I would also recommend using Grok. For example, Grok can scour the Reddits and Twitter. And also, if you're looking to start a business or you're trying to see what people are talking about in your industry, you can have it to kind of crawl the Reddits and Twitters in your niche and then give you some feedback.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So, listener, if you want to reach out to Zulfiya, you can reach her. I've just put her LinkedIn down in the screen here, so you can reach to her. That'll also be in our show notes inside the podcast as well. And for those of you that are on YouTube, it'll be in the comment section or the note section there. If you want to take a look at what she's up to, I've just put up the website as well, so you can take a look at some of the agents she's got and see if that might help support some of the needs that you have for your businesses as well. Sophia, I really like to thank you for joining me today. I'm glad we finally had the opportunity to speak a little bit more, and look forward to doing it again sometime soon.
Thank you so much, Brian, for having me.
You bet. Thanks.